This is the Explorer fire pit from Hot Shot, and it's a look-alike to the Solo Stove Bonfire. Same look, same diameter, but the Explorer can be found at a much lower price point. And like the Solo Stove Bonfire, it is advertised as being smokeless. Well, technically it says it will reduce smoke by 70%, but at its lower price point, does it live up to that claim? So is the Explorer a cheaper alternative to the Solo Stove Bonfire, or are you just better off spending a little bit more money and springing for the Solo Stove? So in this video, we're putting the Explorer to the test. We're gonna unbox it and assemble it, obviously burn wood in it, and find out if this is really a good value for your money or not. I'm Kat from Campfire Boss, and if you love spending time outdoors, at a campsite, or even in your own backyard, then you're in the right place. So let's go back in time and assemble this. I got it all put together, and you can see it was really easy. There were only 4 screws that you put on the bottom to put this heat deflector on. So it comes with 2 pieces. We've got the base, and then this just sits on top. And now that we have it sitting on our concrete pad, it's all ready to go. I think it's time to put in some wood and start it on fire. The instructions said to fill it with wood that is 3/4 of the width of the fire pit, which seemed really specific. And I don't have a ruler, so I'm doing the best I can. I think that's gonna have to be close enough. Nope. The instructions didn't say how much firewood to put in, but I know from using other smokeless fire pits, you usually try to keep it below this top rim. I dug through my wood pile and I found some pieces that were short enough to fit in, but if you have longer firewood, you might have to cut it to fit, so just be aware of that. To get the fire started, I'm going to use my favorite all-natural fire starter, stump chunks. I'm just going to put a few handfuls between the cracks of the firewood. Gonna get it down in there. You can see it started pretty easily. At one point I thought it went out, so I added another handful of stump chunks and started lighting that, and then realized that it actually was on fire underneath. But once I lit that other pile of stump chunks, it took off really quickly. And I wanted to wait a while to get the fire good and hot, because I know with smokeless fire pits, the hotter the fire, the less smoke you generally have. And I did start to see some of that secondary burn come out from underneath the rim of the fire pit. And actually the wind's kind of blowing in my face right now. I feel like I'm not smelling a lot of smoke, which is kind of surprising me for how much smoke I'm actually seeing around the top of the fire. But I do have to remind myself that Hot Shot is not claiming that this is 100% smokeless. They're saying it's about 70% smokeless. So they are trying to keep our expectations in check. And I feel like that's pretty much holding true here, because while I am seeing some smoke, I don't think it seems like as much as you would get with a traditional fire ring. So let's talk about specs of the Hot Shot Explorer fire pit. It is 19.5 inches wide wide and it's 14 inches tall. The whole thing weighs 20 pounds and it's made out of stainless steel. Hot Shot gives you a 5-year limited warranty. So as long as you're like using it normally and not doing anything weird with the fire pit, they're going to cover if something breaks. The way that this is designed to be smokeless is that the stand has those air vents around the bottom. So air that comes in through that stand feeds the bottom of the fire with more oxygen, and it also travels in the hollow chamber around the fire pit, and it escapes out of the opening at the top of the fire pit. And when the air comes out of there, it's supposed to be superheated, which means it's supposed to burn up more smoke particles, pieces of ash, things that usually fly out of the fire pit or blow out of the fire pit. They're burned up. In theory. What else can I say about this sucker? And that system is what Hot Shot calls their clean air, smoke-free technology. Now that the fire's rolling, I'm going to test it with my infrared thermometer and see how hot the outside gets. The top of the fire pit is almost 200 degrees. The bottom part of the fire pit, about 170, and the base itself is about 130 degrees. I'm going to let this thing burn itself all the way out and then cool off so I can clean it out and see what that process is like. The fire's gone out and I let it cool off completely. I want to see how easy it is to clean out this fire pit. And one difference between the Hot Shot Explorer and the Solo Stove is that the Solo Stove has a separate ashtray in the bottom that you can pull out and clean that way. And the Hot Shot does not have that. So the only way I can figure to clean this is to just dump the whole thing upside down. So that's what I'm going to try, and I'm going to see how easy it is to do and if the ash actually comes out. Actually, I think it did a fine job. This thing does not weigh very much, so it was really easy just to dump it over. And there's hardly any ash left after I did that. And honestly, this has been rained on. So personally, I don't think it's necessary to have a separate piece that lifts out when you want to dump the ash, because you can just easily tip it over and it's done. So let's talk pros and cons for the Hot Shot Explorer. And if you think that this is going to be the perfect fire pit for you, there'll be a link to learn more in the description. So first, let's talk about cons. I do really like this fire pit, but I think one con is the smoke. Now, it wasn't terrible. If you're comparing this to a traditional fire ring, just burning some logs on the ground, yes, this does put out less smoke than that. So I still think it's a great fire pit. And Hot Shot did try to manage our expectations by saying it is 70% smokeless. But after using this, my hair and my clothes do smell a little bit like smoke. So while this is a great fire pit, keep your expectations in check for the smokeless feature. And some things that are only cons when you compare it to the Solo Stove Bonfire is that there's no color options. It just comes like this, stainless steel. The Solo Stove Bonfire has a lot of different finish options to choose from. Some people care, some people don't, but that is one difference. Another feature that the Solo Stove has that this one doesn't is that removable ashtray. It's supposed to help me cleaning it a lot easier. This one doesn't have it, but it doesn't weigh a lot. You can just dump it upside down. I really did not think it was hard at all. So I don't think that's a huge con, but it is a difference. And one other thing that wasn't my favorite thing with this fire pit is the length of firewood that you had to use. I did have to kind of dig through our pile to find pieces small enough to fit in this. And now onto the pros, because I think this fire pit has a lot of good things going for it. When comparing it to the Solo Stove, it's a better price. You're saving some money there, and it comes with the carrying case instead of having to buy one separately like with the Solo Stove Bonfire. But just like the Solo Stove, there are separate accessories that you can buy for the Explorer. So you can get a grill that you put on top, you can get a spark screen, what's the other thing? And you can get a tabletop lid so you can turn it into a coffee table when you're not using it. And while it wasn't smokeless, there was less smoke. And one other huge pro for the Explorer is its weight and portability. It only weighs 20 pounds altogether, and it comes with that great carrying bag with the handles. I easily carried it around, no big deal. So you can take it tailgating, you can take it camping, you take it wherever you want to go. I think that the Hot Shot Explorer is a pretty good value for the money, but if you'd like to see my favorite smokeless fire pit that I've reviewed so far, then this is the video for you. It looks a lot different than the Hot Shot, but it's super easy to use, and I found it to be almost completely smokeless, even when burning wood. So check this out next. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy your next campfire.